doing slip inventory at Hagen-Renaker, Tennessee, I found that one bucket had collapsed its lid. And this is a common problem we're finding with the buckets made by Leaktite and other brands. They are aging just in storage and falling apart. And bear in mind, these are not exposed to UV or temperature shifts. The plastic is just degrading. The bucket plastic seems to be holding, but the lids are a little bit more flexible and soft. Most of these buckets are food grade, so that doesn't make a difference. We're going to try and save this bucket of slip without getting any plastic shards in the actual clay castings that will result later. I have my trusty bucket break up the chunks slip tool here, and well, let's see what we can do. When the slip talc source changed, the color of our slip in its raw form also changed. I had to go into storage and find a slip bucket pitcher that matches the slip color. When the talc mine closed, it changes the color of the raw slip. Luckily, we've got something close here. So I have a pitcher in which to move some of the slip. It can't stay in this bucket. Obviously, I'm gonna have to replace the lid. You want your slip to age, ideally 10 years, but often people will use it right away or within 5 years. I like it at good 10 years, as you can see. This is actually 20 years old. This is 2026 that I'm recording this. So this is good and proper age slip, and you don't want to throw away good slip, but we can try and, without making too many shards, rescue this very thick slip. Some of it has already started to lose its salts, as you can see the evaporation there. And little bits of plastic are falling off. Now, as we look inside the bucket, it looks like everything is concentrated here. So I'm going to get a tool and I'm going to very carefully remove material that looks suspicious. This looks like sodium silicate crystals, which are part of the clay. There doesn't seem to be any other introduced organic debris, but the plastic debris does need to come out. And that should narrow things down quite a bit. Very lucky that there aren't more white plastic shards all along here. Get the very last of it out. And that reduces our waste considerably. You don't want plastic to be in the kiln ever. So we want to make sure we get all of it. Ta-da! Oh, well, much better. So the little brown bits are organic material. And we have this whole thick bucket of slip to thin down and use now. I'm adding a very little bit of water to this bucket. Just to get it started. As you can see, this is some very thick slip, but it hasn't dried out. I assure you, this is what it looks like after it has sat for even 30 days after ball milling. I'm very lucky that I found this bucket before it dried out. This probably happened within the past week, this lid collapse. And I have seen containers that have been kept in a field under a tarp out in the weather that don't break down in 20 years. So this is not good when a bucket starts to fall apart. Some of my lids are only about 5 years old that are starting to break. Again, not exposed to UV, not exposed to temperature shifts. So if you are storing slip in any of these containers, periodically check them. I'm using this tool like a knife to break up the solid pudding of slip and then stir in the water. And the goal is to reach the bottom, and we've hit it. Bring more water down to the bottom. I thin with water and Darben 7. So far I've only put in water because of the nature of the lid breach, meaning that water evaporated. To thin slip, people often just use Darben 7. We're making rapid progress. So lucky to have caught this bucket before it went bad. And I think we have success. I'm gonna wipe the the edges one more time before I pour off into the pitcher. It's amazing how just a little bit of water makes a big difference. And this is Hagen-Renaker Formula Slip. Aged 20 years, like a fine wine. This has been ball milled for smoothness. It's like silk between your fingers. And it results in very fine grained castings where when you seam them, it's a continuous surface and no gravel, or grog as we say in pottery. The grog has all been smoothed out. My goal is to get a consistent color, removing all the streaks. The color being consistent will indicate that it's homogenized. Every time you add water, the color lightens a little bit, so you have to mix that back in. And you can see there's little streaks. And it does matter because you want your slip to not have changes in the mineral content that will cause dunting or wood grain like stripes in the final casting that might even show underneath paint. Even white clay slip, this will fire white, this color of slip is not gray. Even white castings will show those bad mix lines. So we gotta get it very consistent. I'm trying to pull up material from the bottom, and you can already see the difference. Next, I'm going to prepare this for storage for a few weeks, just by cleaning some of the slip down the bucket sides. This will improve blending the next time I have to get into this bucket. New, fresh lid to replace the broken one. And we're done. Note that I have only used tools to agitate by hand and no power tools. There is a reason for this. If you use a power tool with a blending bit on the end, what you're doing is you are pulling air from above the surface of the clay down into the clay, and you're basically aerating the clay, which results in castings with little cavities or popped bubbles inside of it. When these are on the surface of the model, you have hours of work filling all of the little holes. They also have a tendency to crack after firing and filling. So we agitate by hand at a steady rate. This is how the old timers taught me to do it. And it makes sense to not make more work for yourself by adding air. So the next step, I'm going to let the material set overnight. Any air that I might have introduced is going to rise to the top and pop. So if I need to use this for tomorrow morning, say, all of the minor air I might have introduced by hand has already come to the surface and dissipated. This results in nice, solid, no air bubble castings.